Salesforce continues to build out new features around communities. And a community is really a website that you can use that I can either require a login, and the logins for the community they're less expensive. Or you can also make your community public. And so we built a community for a client recently that was really just a public community to display certain pieces of information. And really what we did there was in our settings, we just said public can access the community. And this lesson isn't around so much the setup of a community. We have a different lesson for that. But what we needed to do in this case was we needed to display some of the pages that we'd created on our partner's website. They wanted to embed that page on their website. So we have this page here that is a partner page, and it's loading a component, and we're passing in the component into the component an ID, so the client's record ID, their account ID. And so it's great when they want to load it on the community, but they wanted to embed it on their own page. Well, Salesforce does have some limits in your ability to embed iframes and other sites and from the community. And so we needed to find a different solution. And luckily, Salesforce has just come out in the last release with a beta version called Lightning Out. And what this is meant to do is to give you the ability to load your components or your apps in Lightning, to load that, allow it to be loaded from an external website, which is exactly our case. So we jumped in and tried it, and it was really easy, actually very, very easy. And this page, if you just do a search for Lightning Components and scroll down here to the Lightning Out, it has a really nice, that's the title of the help article is Lightning Out Apps with non-authenticated users. So that was our use case. We didn't need to have users be authenticated. And so really all we needed to do was to create a new Lightning app. And creating a Lightning app is really easy. If you're in your developer console, you can go File, New Lightning Application. So that's all we did. And we called that our Partner Embed app. And so our component that we had created to show client data was called Partner. So this is our partner component. And we created this Partner Embed app, Lightning app. And this is what's displaying the, we call it Partner Out. That's what we called it. And so the Partner Out is the Lightning app. And the Lightning app is real simple. It really just needs to reference a dependency that is pointing to your component. And so the documentation lays that out really nicely we just copied this and replaced this reference to our component. And then that was it. The only other thing that we need to do here is it does mention that you need to make sure that you have CORS set up for your external domain. Somewhere in here, I thought I saw that. And I guess maybe it says it here in the overview. It's easy to miss it. So in Salesforce, you can just, in the setup, you can type in CORS and what you're doing is adding the server domain, the external server domain that's going to be hosting this Lightning Out app. And it does need to be HTTPS. We put an asterisk in here for the subdomain so we could have multiple subdomains if we needed. And what that does is then it allows Salesforce says, or actually your browser says, okay, it's allowed for you to run, to pull the JavaScript assets from our domain and run them here in this domain. And so that cross-origin resource sharing then is enabled, and your browser will allow you to run the JavaScript. So that's really all we had to do. And then it was just a matter of creating the HTML to embed that Lightning Out app on the external server. So we created a simple HTML file that just had a body and just pasted in our script. And this help file has a really nice overview of that script. You just need to have this include script here, and you'll replace this with your community domain. And so for us, the community domain was worldchangers.salesforce.com. And then the next thing is to copy this script. And they have good comments here on what you're doing here, but this is your main Lightning app that we just created. And then this is the top level component that we're loading. In our case, it was called that partner. That's the name of our embedded component. And then we can actually pass in attributes here. This is really cool. We can, in our case, we passed in the record ID, and that allows us to load the data for that particular account. And then this is the last thing here, is just to specify the location of that the HTML should render to, the DOM element. So this is an ID, and we called the DOM element partner, and we just created an ID called partner, and we referenced that ID in the script. And then the last step is to specify the community endpoint. If you do have a trailing community name, that would go here. We don't on ours, so ours was just worldchangers.force.com. And then once you do that, then this external page will embed that Lightning app, which is actually loading a Lightning component, and it embeds it right there on that external server, which is really, really amazing. I was surprised how easy it was to embed that way, and we'll be using it in the future to be able to share data with our partners. The last thing we did, just for simplicity's sake, is we did render some embed code for our admins to be able to just copy, paste, and send. And when we're rendering this embed code, we're just sticking in the ID automatically, which is kind of cool. So we actually created a new component for that called Partner Embed. And in this component, in the controller, we're kind of rendering out that embed code, and we're concatenating in the actual record ID. So the record ID gets passed as an attribute, and we make sure that we have Force has record ID set. And once you do that, then Salesforce passes in that record ID, and then we can use that record ID and get that from the view, get the component from the view. And then that way we can render in here this record ID. So this is all we need. We can just copy paste this, and we can place that on any external server. As long as we have the core set up to allow that domain to run the Lightning Out app, then it'll run. Pretty cool. Hopefully you enjoy that. We didn't have any issues with the beta status of this functionality. I'm sure they're out there and there's issues, but we didn't have any issues with this. Thank you.